think it's kind of scary.
Inaugural events begin. George Bush at the Lincoln Memorial. And Bill Clinton on television, a late goodbye. The new president's choices for Attorney General and the Interior attacked again on Capitol Hill. The Reverend Jesse Jackson admits he fathered a child out of wedlock. An ABC News exclusive, the sailor's videotape from the USS Cole. And how much will Washington change now that the Texans are back?
From ABC, this is World News Tonight with Peter Jennings. Reporting tonight from Washington.
Good evening, everyone. We caught a glimpse of a moving truck down there at the White House this afternoon, and there is no clearer sign in this town that the changing of the guard is very close. The contested election delayed much of the organization, but they will get it done. The first big celebration for George W. Bush was at the Lincoln Memorial late this afternoon. Mr. and Mrs. Bush, Mr. and Mrs. Cheney, there to greet a large crowd of enthusiasts, which will only get larger by Saturday.
My administration will serve all Americans, and this inaugural is for all Americans to enjoy.
We'll have a better look at the celebration by the end of the broadcast, but first the serious business. George Bush's nominees for his cabinet are still getting a going-over in the Congress, and President Clinton caused a mild stir here by his reluctance to slide out of the spotlight. Mr. Clinton asked for and got a little time on television tonight to say goodbye. Here's ABC's John Cochran.
Peter, the president's aides say he did not want to use his farewell address to stick his finger in Mr. Bush's eye, but he did want to point out some of the challenges facing the president-elect, including some areas where they differ on issues both overseas and at home. Mr. Clinton dislikes George Bush's proposed tax cuts and, without mentioning them, made an implied criticism, saying it is necessary to maintain fiscal discipline.
First, America must maintain our record of fiscal responsibility. Through our last 4 budgets, we've turned record deficits to record surpluses, and we've been able to pay down $600 billion of our national debt, on track to be debt-free by the end of the decade for the first time since 1835. Staying on that course will bring lower interest rates, greater prosperity, and the opportunity to meet our big challenges. If we choose wisely, we can pay down the debt, deal with the retirement of the baby boomers, invest more in our future, and provide tax relief.
The president also found a way to respond to George Bush's proposals for possible military cutbacks overseas.
We must embrace boldly and resolutely that duty to lead, to stand with our allies in word and deed, and to put a human face on the global economy so that expanded trade benefits all peoples in all nations, lifting lives and hopes all across the world.
Believe it or not, Peter, the farewell address is not the final address. On Saturday morning, less than 2 hours before Mr. Clinton leaves the presidency, he will speak to the nation again on radio.
Thanks, John Cochran. By the way, our colleagues at abcnews.com have a complete guide to the inauguration. They also have a place where you can propose, if you like, what President Clinton might do with the rest of his life. Now to Capitol Hill. The conventional wisdom here in Washington is that former Senator John Ashcroft will be confirmed as Attorney General, but he is not completely out of the woods yet. At his confirmation hearing today, the main witness, the one that Democrats most wanted to speak, was a Supreme Court judge from Mr. Ashcroft's home state of Missouri. Linda Douglas was at the hearing today. Linda, why is Judge White so important to the Democrats?
Well, Peter, Ronnie White does say that John Ashcroft blocked his nomination to the federal bench by persuading all Republican senators to vote against him and distorting his record. Today, Ronnie White told the senators about how he rose up from poverty and racism to become the first black judge in the Missouri State Supreme Court.
Today, I am here to stand up for my record, my reputation as a judge, and as a citizen.
3 years ago, White was on his way to being confirmed as a federal judge with bipartisan support when unexpectedly, then Senator Ashcroft mounted a campaign against him.
He will use his lifetime appointment to push the law in a pro-criminal direction consistent with his own personal political agenda.
Ashcroft accused White of being soft on the death penalty, even though he had voted for the death penalty 70% of the time, roughly the same record as other Missouri judges.
I believe that Senator John Ashcroft seriously distorted my record.
Today, every Democratic senator apologized to White for what happened.
I am very sorry for what Senator Ashcroft did to you and your reputation, and I join with my colleagues in apologizing for what happened to you before the United States Senate.
One Republican told him that those who voted against him in the Senate knew little about him personally.
No one ever mentioned your race. In fact, I know that many of my colleagues, when they voted, were not aware of your race until after the vote.
Ashcroft says he opposed White because of his lone dissent in the death penalty case of multiple murderer James Johnson. White urged a new trial for Johnson, arguing his lawyer was incompetent. Ashcroft was outside the Senate hearing with one of the murder victims' families. Democrats said Ashcroft launched his crusade against White to score points with conservative voters back home. But White refused to question his motives.
I don't think Senator Ashcroft is a racist, and I wouldn't attempt to comment on what's in his mind or what's in his heart.
And with that, Republicans are now saying that Democrats have failed to make their case to the public that John Ashcroft has serious problems on racial issues. Now, many Democrats, Peter, will vote against Ashcroft because of the Ronnie White case, but that probably will not be enough to derail his nomination.
Thanks very much, Linda Douglas on Capitol Hill. There were 6 other confirmation hearings for Mr. Bush's cabinet choices today. Gail Norton, who wants to be Interior Secretary, was given a going over too. Environmental activists in many parts of the country believe that she is not a friend. Today, she disagreed.
I am a compassionate conservative and a passionate conservationist.
And the Senate Foreign Relations Committee was unanimous in supporting Colin Powell for Secretary of State. The full Senate will almost surely agree. This is a very emotional time in Washington, careers which are ending or put on hold or just beginning. In the next few days, there will be tears as well as laughter as many people committed to government and politics go through the transition. At her final news conference today, the Attorney General, Janet Reno, said she plans to take a week off, kayak 120 miles through the Everglades in her home state of Florida, and then drive across the country in her new red pickup truck. We'll have the rest of the news from Washington later in the program. When we come back, some of the other news. The worst day of the power crisis in California until tomorrow. And an ABC News exclusive inside the USS Cole right after the bomb went off.
I remember thinking I had to get out of there for my kids and my husband.
This is World News Tonight with Peter Jennings. Brought to you by Office Depot.
It's been a long time coming, but I'm leaving you in good hands. Sarah?
Thanks, Dad. Taking care of business. In business, you can count on things to change. That's why millions of companies count on Office Depot to help them take care of business.
Taking care of business.
Need extra cash? Don't charge it on your credit cards. Get a second mortgage with no closing costs from Ditech.com. With a second mortgage, you can consolidate all your existing high-interest debts, get the cash you need for any purpose, and end up with one lower monthly payment. A second mortgage with no closing cost is smart money from Ditech.com. Log on now for fast online approval or call us at 1-800-71-FIXED.
Dearly beloved, we are gathered here today.
I should have used Preparation H.
New Preparation H medicated wipes with aloe, the easy way to cleanse, cool, and soothe. Easier because they're 4 times bigger than Tux pads. New Preparation H medicated wipes. Big relief.
In California, the energy crisis is really starting to hit consumers and businesses. There were more blackouts today. The governor, Gray Davis, has declared a state of emergency and ordered the state to temporarily start buying power from wholesalers and providing it to utilities that are too financially strapped to buy it for themselves. Here's ABC's Brian Rooney.
In Silicon Valley, the lights went out at Sun Microsystems, one of the biggest names of the electronic age.
It's cost us a ton of money. The productivity loss here is amazing.
Pacific Gas and Electric of San Francisco, which serves nearly half of California, rotated blackouts through its area, cutting off enough power to run 2 mid-sized cities. Nursing homes were without light, gas stations closed. People had to be rescued from powerless elevators. and cars smacked up under stoplights that didn't say stop. The Office of Emergency Services was kept hopping, responding to it all.
This is not something that we could sustain on a day-to-day basis for an extended period of time.
But probably the people suffering the most are employees of companies that can't get enough power. Miller Brewing, east of Los Angeles, laid off 200 people and is shipping in beer from Texas.
I think is indicative of how difficult this energy crisis has become.
California got into this mess through poorly planned deregulation and failing to build new electric plants, even though population and demand were growing by the equivalent of 2 new power plants every year. The increasing impatience of other states showed this morning in Senate confirmation hearings for the new energy secretary.
But frankly, I think my state is being set up, and I include Washington State, to be an energy farm for California.
They are not a producing state, they are a consuming state.
And it will be years before California can build enough new power plants to sustain itself again. Power authorities go hour to hour through the West begging for spare megawatts. At midday, they found enough, they hope, to get through tonight without further blackouts. Brian Rooney, ABC News, Los Angeles.
The man in charge of the Marine Corps fleet of the V-22 Osprey aircraft squadron has been relieved of his duty. Lieutenant Colonel Ofred Lieberman allegedly asked Marines under his command to falsify maintenance records for the Osprey. The Marines say they cannot rule out a possible link between the allegations and several Osprey crashes. When our broadcast continues tonight, it was like being electrocuted. That's what the sailor captured with his camera. Exclusive pictures from right after the attack on the Cole.
Your eyes deserve the very best protection.
At LensCrafters, we think everyone deserves one of the very best lenses around, like featherweights.
Featherweights are thin and light, but they're also safer. 10 times more shatter-resistant than plastic lenses. Featherweights at LensCrafters.
And hoping and thinking and praying.
A delicious dressing with just 2 grams of fat. Stop wishing and start eating. Just too good from Wishbone.
Wishing and hoping.
Looking for a great value on a great car? It's time to check out Oldsmobile, because right now, you can drive with the confidence of a 5-year, 60,000-mile General Motors protection plan. An offer that's good on every new 2001 Oldsmobile. Plus, qualified buyers can finance a new 2001 Oldsmobile with 0 down plus 0 interest and payments until 2002, which makes Oldsmobile the smart buyer's choice. It's one of our best offers yet.
I'm ready.
See your local dealer today.
Hey, Jerry Stiller.
Where did you come from?
Enjoying your Post-Raisin Bran?
Every morning.
Know how many bowls of that it'd take to equal the vitamin nutrition in just 1 bowl of Total Raisin Bran?
I bet you're going to tell me.
4.
Holy moly.
Total Raisin Bran has 100% of 11 vitamins and minerals. Now including 100% calcium.
I'll take the Total Raisin Bran.
Now you're Mr. Nice Guy.
I want you out of here. The Total can stay.
Total, now with 100% calcium.
I told my father I wanted to grow up to be a teacher. Wouldn't you rather be a doctor? He said. It's a noble profession and you could become wealthy. That may be true, I said. But without teachers, where would doctors come from?
He took the spirit of the sport and elevated it.
Sports Century, the top 15 beyond. Weeknights at 8, only on ESPN Classic.
Tomorrow, the new First Lady, Laura Bush, talks candidly with Diane Sawyer.
What is your fantasy of the first morning in the White House?
Good Morning America, tomorrow.
We have emphasized several times recently how the great problems of the day do not go away with a change in president. The outgoing Secretary of State and the incoming one have both made it clear that international terrorism is a fact of life for the American government. And later this evening on ABC's Prime Time, Thursday, a powerful reminder of what the United States is up against. When the USS Cole was attacked last October and 17 sailors were killed, one of the sailors on board the Cole used his own camera to record some of the aftermath. These are pictures you've not seen before. What the terrorists did to a billion-dollar ship not to mention the country's morale. Here's ABC's John McWethy.
Most of the sailors who died were about to have lunch. A half-eaten meal still sits on the table. A few feet away, destruction is total. The floor driven up through the ceiling, a deadly twisting of steel, daylight showing through a gaping hole in the side of the ship.
We was lucky enough to make it through all this.
Seaman Carl Wingate, who shot this home video, remembers the moment, along with his shipmates.
It was a really loud boom. I mean, it's almost indescribable how loud it was.
I actually started running up the passageway, up a ladder, opened up a door, and there was no deck there. It's gone.
I felt my whole body shaking. I thought I was getting electrocuted. I didn't know what was going on.
In the hours just after the blast, the crew is in a state of shock. Some, still covered with soot from the explosion, wander through darkened passageways, still not sure what hit them.
God was with me today.
A senior enlisted man says he would have been killed if he had not been called to a meeting moments before the blast.
There's just debris laying all over.
Outside, the ship's exterior walls are pitted by shrapnel from the explosion. An orange life raft blown from the deck is plastered to the side of the bridge like a moth on the front of a speeding car. Crewmen, now at battle stations, stand at a .50 caliber machine gun that was unmanned when the attack occurred. The Navy's final report on the Cole attack is expected to explain why no one will be punished, even though the captain and crew failed to take basic steps to protect the ship. Sources say the Navy itself will accept part of the blame by admitting all its ships were vulnerable and that its sailors were not trained to expect this kind of attack. John McWethy, ABC News, the Pentagon.
You can see the full report this evening on Prime Time. When we come back from Washington, Jesse Jackson's moral failure. He says he's sorry.
Eating Quaker oatmeal every day for 30 days helped lower my cholesterol. I don't know how, but it did.
It removes it.
My cholesterol went down 11 points somehow or other.
It removes it. Mine came down 21 points.
Can't figure out how it works, though.
It removes it.
You reckon it actually works to remove it?
You ought to pay as much attention to your checkers as you do your oatmeal.
Quaker oatmeal warms you heart and soul.
When your eyes feel dry, gritty, irritated, protect them with Refresh brand eye drops. First, Refresh relieves dryness. Then Refresh forms a lasting shield of protection that keeps irritation out and moisture in. Refresh. It relieves and protects.
At Gateway, we know there's nothing like a really good deal to put people, well, in a really good mood. Call 1-800-GATEWAY now, and for just $999, get a 933 megahertz Gateway Essential PC with a super fast Intel Pen processor, huge 17-inch monitor, DVD player or printer, and a year of America Online. See, in Gateway country, people rule.
I don't want to climb a mountain. I don't want to run a marathon. I don't want to be 20 again. Though 50 would be nice. I just want to spend the day outside, planting tulips with Max.
Vioxx is here, a prescription medicine for the most common type of arthritis pain, osteoarthritis. One little pill, taken just once a day, can provide 24-hour relief. People with allergic reactions such as asthma to aspirin or other arthritis medicines should not take Vioxx. In rare cases, serious stomach problems such as bleeding can occur without warning. Tell your doctor if you have liver or kidney problems. For more information, ask your doctor or pharmacist about once daily Vioxx for the relief of osteoarthritis pain. And you may be able to plan your day around your life instead of your pain. Vioxx for everyday victories.
The Reverend Jesse Jackson admitted this morning that he is the father of a baby daughter by a woman who is not his wife. This has already been a blow to Mr. Jackson and his family, and he has made a public apology. But as Mr. Jackson is also one of the country's political activists and deeply engaged in democratic politics as well as civil rights, today's admission certainly has ramifications for his leadership. Here's ABC's Aaron Brown.
In acknowledging the affair, Reverend Jackson says he will temporarily leave his public duties, a retreat that comes at an important time for both him and the causes he champions. He's been a leading critic of Attorney General nominee John Ashcroft and was set to lead demonstrations in Florida this weekend protesting the vote and the election of George W. Bush.
I must say that the timing of this is very suspect to me and to many others.
But whether the timing was coincidence or conspiracy, the story is true and damaging to the country's leading African-American voice.
I think the black community can separate his personal from his public life, but his effectiveness as a mainstream spokesman has been somewhat neutralized.
It doesn't help Jackson that the board of Rainbow Push, his Chicago-based charity, approved a $40,000 payment to relocate the 39-year-old woman to this Los Angeles area home, or that his affair was going on in the summer of '98 while he was counseling the Clinton family the very weekend the president confessed to his affair with Monica Lewinsky.
We must have the strength to resist the tempest because tempests do come, and that's the moral challenge.
The obvious hypocrisy is just part of the problem.
The other question, though, that I think that's also important long-term is how Reverend Jackson deals with this. The question of whether or not Reverend Jackson's credibility is shot.
Which raises yet another question. Will a country that was largely generous to an adulterous president be as generous to Reverend Jackson? Aaron Brown, ABC News, New York.
We go overseas again briefly. In Britain tonight, police have taken custody of the infant twin girls who were sold and then resold on the internet. There was something of a mob scene as police and social workers arrived at the hotel in North Wales where the twins' most recent parents had been conducting their media campaign to keep the girls from the other set of parents who were in the United States. In Australia, at least 27 people were injured when a freak hailstorm hit the state of New South Wales. It only lasted half an hour, but it completely ravaged the town of Casino. When we come back from Washington, culture change. The capital city dusts off its cowboy boots.
If you currently suffer from asbestos-related injury and you worked at sites with commercial boilers, you must act now in the Babcock & Wilcox bankruptcy. Claims that you, your family, your heirs, or others may have against B&W must be filed by the bar date July 30th, 2001. Claims for future asbestos injuries not evident now are not involved. To learn more, call toll-free 1-877-657-9158. 1-877-657-9158.
Your eyes deserve the very best protection.
At LensCrafters, we think everyone deserves one of the very best lenses around, like featherweights.
Featherweights are thin and light, but they're also safer. 10 times more shatter-resistant than plastic lenses. Featherweights at LensCrafters.
It's important to take care of yourself. It's also important to talk to your doctor. Ask your doctor about Prempro. I'm glad I did.
Introducing the all-new Silverado Heavy Duty. The most powerful heavy-duty pickup you can get. And the 2001 Motor Trend Truck of the Year. Silverado Heavy Duty.
Hi, everybody. I'm Steve Gunn, and coming up next on K2 News, the same set of twins may have been adopted by two different families. And a Vancouver internet company is caught in the middle of what is escalating into an international controversy. The company gives us access, and you'll get the story on K2 News coming up next. We'll see you then.
Tomorrow, lavish parties costing millions. What are corporations hoping to gain at the inauguration? What they don't want you to see. Back on the money trail on World News Tonight.
Finally this evening from Washington, what changes and what does not? People from all country have crowded here this weekend to be part of history. Most will go home, but some will stay, and Washington will go on pretty much as usual. But it won't be completely the same. First of all, here's ABC's Dan Harris.
At Washington's venerable Ritz-Carlton Hotel, the signs of change are everywhere.
Now there are Stetsons on the bellboys, an elephant topiary in the lobby, and complimentary peanut butter and jelly sandwiches, George W.'s favorite. There's a new chief in town, and he's likely to bring with him a mixture of Texas mellowness and Yankee modesty, in contrast to what many saw as Bill Clinton's tabloid presidency.
It's been exhausting. I think that people in Washington, even the diehard Democrats, are just kind of, take me out, coach.
Out are the 20-something coffee-addled, pizza-fueled staffers. In, maturity. Out, impromptu McDonald's runs. In, posh eateries like the Caucus Room, owned by Washington insiders. Out, Hollywood celebs. In, Clint Black, who will perform tomorrow night at the Black Tie and Boots inaugural ball.
Black tux, black shirt, and a formal black hat.
That's the new look for now. At least the owner of Boot Village in Virginia certainly hopes so.
I see boots and then dollar signs.
Under Clinton, we heard a lot about FOBs, friends of Bill, like Vernon Jordan and Bruce Lindsay. Bush has his own longtime loyalists.
FOG, friend of W.
While a new president does set the tone in Washington, his ability to truly change the city's social and cultural scene has been vastly reduced in recent years. Washington is no longer the sleepy southern town that it was in the 1960s, when the Kennedys took the place by storm. Today, there are more technology workers than federal employees.
I just don't think that people here have that sense of inferiority that they need to change who they are and their own identities every 4 years or every 8 years.
So while Texas Longhorns have been brought here as props for an inaugural ball, the idea that this is really the new flavor of Washington may just be bull. Dan Harris, ABC News, Washington.
There was something else slipped in there with the Texas Longhorn. At any rate, they had that great celebration over behind the Washington Monument. It's after dark, as you can see. Let's take a glimpse of what it was like. Wayne Newton, of course, was expected to perform, a great favorite. The Latin sensation Ricky Martin was expected to perform, but no one quite expected that Ricky Martin would get George W. Bush on stage. We haven't quite seen this Mr. Bush, or much of it. When the Golden Knights cascaded down on the National Mall, we were reminded that show business aside, we Sandy Patty with her magnificent rendition of the national anthem. Quite a celebration, the beginning of a weekend which will be celebrated all across the country by Americans, this great tradition. That's our report on World News Tonight. Don't forget prime time, Thursday, and later this evening, Nightline. I'm Peter Jennings. Have a great evening. Good night from Washington.
This has been a presentation of ABC News. More Americans get their news from ABC News than from any other source.
Bombing on the USS Cole. Now, for the first time, you will see dramatic video of the damage on board, sailors, their stories of survival, and the extraordinary hunt to track down who did it. A major primetime investigation tonight.
Connecting you to your world. This is K2 News.
Good evening, everybody. I'm Steve Dunn.
I'm Paul Lindman. Good evening. Tonight we learn a Vancouver internet company is caught in the middle of an international tug of war.
K2's Dan Tilken explains how the company finds itself in the middle of a battle over